Earth has one sun, and we're really happy about it because without our parent star, there would be no life. Well, except for some microbes that can live in very extreme conditions. But then we wouldn't be able to grow corn or watch Netflix. So thanks, Mr. Sun, but what if Earth had not one but two suns? Would the extra star make us immortal, or would it just fry our planet like an egg? There are lots of planetary systems out there with more than one star, and they do and seem to have any trouble supporting life. So it can be done, but our solar system is unique in other ways, too. And we don't know how those would factor into the effects of a second sun, so we'll explore the full range of possibilities in this video. For starters, where would this extra sun come from? A binary system with two stars that are roughly the same size and brightness is pretty common in the universe. But our sun is actually a bit bigger than most stars in the Milky Way, so a twin of our sun would probably have to form in a cluster with multiple suns like the Pleiades star cluster. Each star in a cluster forms from the same giant cloud of gas and dust, but they end up with different masses because the gravity of the surrounding material pulls them in different directions. Most of the time, though, these extra stars would likely be smaller and dimmer than our sun. The nearest such star to us is Proxima Centauri, which is 4.2 light years away and is part of a binary system itself. It's called Alpha Centauri, and the other star is very similar to our sun, but it's possible that this arrangement could be replicated somewhere else in the galaxy. If we had a mini-sun that was about half the mass of our sun, it would also be about half as bright. And if it were about 10 light years away, its light wouldn't interfere with our solar panels or anything. We could even use it for extra light in the winter. But would it affect our climate enough to be noticeable? Probably not. Just having that much extra light around wouldn't change things much because sunlight makes up only about 5% of the energy we get on Earth. The rest comes from the heat that's already here. And the energy balance of Earth's climate is super sensitive to temperature changes. You'd need something like 30% more energy to warm the planet by just 1 degree. Even if we harnessed all the power of our hypothetical nearby dim star, that would only add about 1% to the energy we get now. And it would take tens of millions of years for the temperature to increase by even 1 degree. Our mini-sun might also mess with our magnetic field, but again, probably not in a way that we'd notice. Stars generate magnetic fields from their churning gases and hot plasmas, and those fields extend millions of miles into space. They're called heliospheres. Our sun's heliosphere protects us from the charged particles streaming out of interstellar space. Without it, Earth would lose its protective magnetosphere and get bombarded by cosmic rays. These particles could strip atoms from the atmosphere and cause lots of problems. But a nearby small star probably wouldn't mess with our magnetic field much because the solar wind from our actual sun is blowing away any interstellar gas long before it gets here. Plus, according to some research, the solar wind from a nearby dim star would actually help block more cosmic rays, giving us double protection. It would be like having your own personal security guard made of solar wind. And that security guard would bring plenty of snacks. But if our second sun were bigger and brighter, the story would be very different. Like if it were exactly the same size and mass as our sun, then things would get pretty crazy. Let's start with the obvious problem. We'd be getting twice as much sunlight, which would raise global temperatures by about 24 degrees Celsius. That might sound nice, but that's only considering the top layer of the atmosphere. Deeper down, the extra heat would actually raise the average surface temperature of the Earth by almost 60 degrees. It'd be like moving from the middle of Canada to the middle of Death Valley. And to make matters worse, we'd also experience twice as many sunburns and skin cancers. And if humans still existed at that point, we'd probably wish we had UV filters built into our DNA. We'd also see twice as many forest fires, hurricanes, floods, and droughts. and that would wipe out most of our food supply. Crops would die and fishing would become impossible because most fish live in cold ocean waters. With so few calories available, most people would be lucky to live past 30. Having 2 suns might sound nice during January in Cleveland, but it would make Earth a hellish place to live very quickly, and the effects wouldn't stop there. Another big problem would be that the gravitational pull of our second sun would disrupt the orbits of planets and moons. The main problem is that orbital mechanics are all about balance. Each object in orbit has a certain amount of inertia trying to move it away from the center of mass, and the gravity of the central object tries to pull it toward the center. If these two forces are balanced, the object stays in orbit. But if either of them becomes stronger, the orbit will change. In our case, the second sun would tug on everything in the solar system. This means that Earth would probably drift farther away from the center of mass. At first, this would mean slightly longer days and years. But eventually Earth would reach the point of no return and escape into deep space. It might wander into a faraway corner of the Milky Way, never to return. Or it could be flung into another star system entirely, which sounds cool, but it would be pretty awful for us because Earth has just the right conditions for life as we know it. No more water, no more oxygen, no more comfortable temperatures. 2 suns would wreck our lives in more ways than one. But what if our hypothetical second star were much smaller and much farther away? Then it might not have a big effect on the climate or the orbit of Earth. In fact, a small star might be just what Earth needs to become immortal. Here's how. Right now, our sun is about halfway through its life cycle. Eventually, it will run out of hydrogen fuel and become a red giant, expanding out to engulf Mercury, Venus, and probably Earth. But a second small star could save us by taking out the sun. When it does, our solar system will be plunged into darkness. But if a small star were orbiting in the outer regions, close enough to fill in some of the light coming from the sun, we might have a chance. Plants would still photosynthesize. People would still grow corn. But a second star could do better than just fill in the blanks. It could speed up evolution. Radiation from a nearby star might mutate our DNA more frequently, leading to rapid adaptations that help us survive. It could also trigger the formation of new species. Take the Rafflesia, the world's largest flower. It evolved from an Indonesian rainforest shrub that started growing vines after being infected by a fungus. The fungus was probably brought to the island by spores carried on the wind. A second star could increase the amount of radiation coming to Earth, which could lead to more mutations and speciation. So our flora and fauna would be rapidly changing while we're chilling in our underground bunkers, eating freeze-dried MRS. The high radiation levels might even allow hardy creatures like cockroaches to grow wings and fly away. So when the survivors finally poked their heads out of the bunker, they might find a whole new ecosystem waiting for them. Some animals might be larger and smarter, and some plants might taste delicious and be easy to harvest. Life on Earth could actually improve over time, provided humanity doesn't blow itself up in the process. So having a second sun isn't necessarily a bad thing, depending on its size and distance from Earth. If it causes major changes to our climate or orbit, it could spell doom for the planet. But if it fills in the gaps left by our dying sun or accelerates evolution, we just might thrive. In the end, though, it's probably best that we don't find out. 1 sun is enough for us.